Hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors tgstore.co.uk.
The home of Gore Bikewear, Gore Running Wear and Aquasphere wetsuits. You can get 10% off with the code Oxygenaddict10, and you can win a Gore bike or a Gore run jacket at tgstore.co.uk/oxygenaddict.
We're also brought to you by precisionhydration.com.
Leaders in triathlete sweat testing and hydration with multi-strength electrolytes that match how you sweat. You can get 15% off with the code Oxygenaddict15.
And we are tribe.co.
Natural sports nutrition delivered direct to you. You can get a free trial pack of 6 delicious energy bars, trail mix, recovery bars and shakes for just £1 by using the code Oxygenaddict.
Awesome. And it's so great to have you back, Helen. I've missed you so much.
You did sound a bit lonely, Rob.
It's really weird doing a podcast on your own, sitting here in your room
you're talking to yourself. And
yeah.
You're like, oh my God, I sound like such a knob.
Yeah.
And
I feel that every day, Hels.
But you just feel really stupid, don't you, talking to yourself, thinking, I don't know if anyone's really
Do you know, I had to
listening.
sit here and imagine that our listeners were out there listening and thought, right, there's this stuff going on, I'm going to talk about it, and yeah. But what I couldn't talk about my ultra, because I was like, that's really self-indulgent. Just be like, hey, and here's some stuff I've done.
So we can talk about it this week.
We can have a little chat, but first I want to hear about your journey across Italy with the man Rich. So, I mean, come on, for people who don't know, what was it, 11 days and 1,100 miles of cycling?
Yes, that is correct. From the top of Italy to the bottom. I think last week you said something like, oh yeah, she's done 1,500 miles. And I'm thinking, no, I haven't. So yes, 11 days of
Not like me to
riding
exaggerate.
plus 1 rest day. And we went from Brennero, which is on the Austrian-Italian border, all the way down to Syracuse, which is in southeastern Sicily. And it was incredible, Rob, in so many ways.
Super awesome.
We initially were planning on doing this ride over, 3.5 weeks. We just thought we'd take some extra leave from work, whatever. But then the whole leave situation changed, so we actually only had 2 weeks. But we thought, well, we still want to do it. So then that's when really it turned in from being a probably 60, 70 miles a day, like bit of a holiday, to actually, right, well, this is turning into a bit of a challenge and we're going to have to do 100-mile days. And yeah, I thought I'd have loads of time to think about life, and I didn't. But I switched off. It was mad, because all you can think about is, I need to keep pedaling. When are we next eating? Pizza. I need pizza.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're just in a very, very, very small bubble. But that meant that I didn't, the only day that I actually started thinking about work and the normal day-to-day stresses of life was the one day before we flew home when we weren't on our bikes, and suddenly my mind had more space to think, and that made me really appreciate the special 11 days solid that there was nothing to think about other than food, bike, food, bike, food, bike.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it, that you imagine. It's like the opposite of meditation, where you're meant to clear your mind. You just have all these other thoughts in your mind all the time that you have to concentrate on, otherwise you're going to fall off your bike and not keep moving, right?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, so I've written a blog about the whole thing, which we've tweeted about on the @OA Podcast, and it's on my @HelenFMurray Twitter feed, so you can read a bit more about the whole ride there. I wrote a blog every day, but it was there's so much that you can sort of talk about. So I obviously was riding with my husband Rich. He is a better cyclist than I am. He's stronger, he's faster, but to make it more, I guess, enjoyable for me, he ended up having a heavier load, but actually that then meant that we could ride at more of a similar pace.
Yeah.
And that was really, really helpful, because I think otherwise he would have it's probably about a mile an hour difference that we can ride comfortably.
Okay.
But on a long day, you know, he'd gradually be getting more and more ahead, whereas because his pack was a bit heavier, it wasn't. We were fairly similar, I guess.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
his
good.
comfortable pace, I would still be working a bit harder.
Yeah.
But there were some days whereby I would just be thinking, just sit on his wheel, sit on his wheel, sit on his... No, don't let him get away. No, oh my God, he's getting away. No, come on, Helen, come on, concentrate. Sit on his wheel, sit on his wheel. But then other days, we'd be going up a hill, and perhaps there was one day whereby he completely dropped me on a hill, but then 2 other hills, I absolutely dropped him. And it wasn't a race, but that bit was all fascinating. And then, Rob, the drivers in Italy are insane, and you've just got to be so aware, especially in smaller towns. They're double parking, they're pulling out, they don't look. And then on the bigger roads,
fairly terrifying?
Yeah, really
Okay.
terrifying. And then you've got the moped drivers who, I guess in a way, are very skilled at weaving in and out of traffic, but when they are on your wheel at a traffic light, you're just thinking, shit, which way are they going to come around me? And yeah, that's pretty scary. And then there were some very busy roads that we ended up going on, probably a bit like a bypass, but you just hug the what's it called, the hard shoulder
bit, yeah.
But you'd have trucks, they're just like really uncomfortably close, but they'd all boop or beep. So you knew that they were there, and obviously you could hear them.
Yeah.
And you just very much had to have your wits about you. And then there were other days, like the first couple of days further up in the north, whereby there were just amazing cycle paths pretty much for the whole day. So you were completely away from the traffic, and that was
brilliant.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. And did your bike break on like the first day or something? What happened
Second day. God, second day. So we were on a cycle path, and so my friend Catherine was there for the first 2 days as well, and basically Catherine and I had a little collision, and she came into the back of me. And my rear mech fell off my bike.
Oh no.
So then...
It's not ideal on day 2, is it?
Oh, it really was not ideal on day 2. And it was only, I think we had done about 18 miles. And this local guy had been coming the other way on the cycle path. Basically, I was trying to avoid crashing into a dad and his kid.
Right.
So I probably braked, and then Catherine was probably going too fast, too close, and yeah, there we go. So this local guy who was coming the other way clearly had seen what was happening, and then he broke my chain to make it into a 1 gear little beast.
Okay.
So at least I could carry on riding. And he said, there's some bike shops 20k up the road. So you're like, okay, great, I can do this for 20k, that's fine. Then you get to these bike shops and they say, oh no, we can't fix that. You need a special focus new piece of...
Like, was it the mech hanger that had broken off?
Yeah.
Oh.
I needed a new dropout.
Oh no.
Yeah. So...
breaks your heart.
So then... But it was a Sunday, and with it being a Focus bike and being in Italy, there weren't a whole load of Focus dealers.
Yeah.
And also, then you think, right, well, even if they can get us... it's a Sunday, so they're probably shut today. So then Monday, they might be able to order one in for Tuesday. But we had all of our accommodation booked.
Yeah, of course.
So we decided
what did you do
right,
then?
Okay, let's just get to the next night as accommodation. So then I ended up riding 70 miles.
On a single
awful.
speed.
At about 12 miles an hour. I could not go any faster with my 1 gear around Lake Garda. And I'm just like, this is like, I'm going like a tortoise. And even going downhill, I could only go as fast as gravity would take me.
Yeah. Oh no.
And then Catherine was leaving that day anyway, the following morning. So yeah, we got to the accommodation, and then I then took her bike, and she took my broken bike back to Switzerland. So my broken bike is still in Switzerland, and I have her bike currently.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that causes another
1,000
issue.
miles on
Not
a borrowed
quite
bike.
sure yet how I'm going to get my bike back from Switzerland, but anyway, at least I could get down to the south of Italy.
Is her bike better than yours? Are you just going to keep
it?
No. That's a shame.
Her bike is it's a giant Avail.
Okay.
And she was hoping to get rid of it anyway.
Get it on eBay for her.
Yeah, so it's like my old road bike.
Got you. So if anybody's looking for a giant avail, contact Helen F. Murray at Twitter. Who knows, Hels? Maybe
She's
someone's
probably
after a
quite
winter
happy
hack
for me to
bike.
try and get rid of it.
Yeah, probably. I did
Yeah.
that with
So
my
that was the
bike in
broken bike
Australia.
adventure, and then there was another day, Rob, whereby I think we had it planned for about 112, 115 miles, so we knew it was going to be a long day.
Yeah.
But everything that went wrong could go wrong. We couldn't check out of the hotel until, Mr. Italiano had got up and said, "Yep, checkout's now open," which was about 9 o'clock. Then we
Oh
got
no.
200 meters down the road, and Rich had two punctures with quick succession. So by 9:30, we finally got going. Then it was all uphill pretty much to the above Amalfi, the Amalfi coast, and then we dropped down into Amalfi, and then we were stuck in loads of traffic because it was so touristy, and obviously by that point it was a bit later on in the day or a bit later on in the morning, so there was even more traffic, and it was a weekend, so I guess all the Italians were going to the beach, so that was really slow going. So by lunchtime we had only done 30 miles, and this was like 1 p.m. and I was thinking,
no.
oh man, this is going to be a long afternoon. And we were on this road, and it had seemed fine on this road. It was a busy road, but it was okay. But then we came out under a tunnel, and this police officer was just like, "Bicicleta, no, no, no bicicleta." And we looked at a map, and he was sending us off this road, which was essentially going to take us down the valley to our destination. And then we had to go up and down a valley, up and down another valley, like the long way round, and it was just a nightmare. And then halfway on that long way round, there was a concrete barrier across the road. It's like, oh shit, where do we go now? And then we figured it was just a little landslide, so we jumped over the concrete barrier, Rob.
I love it.
We had to lift the bikes over. We were very naughty and went around the landslide, lifted them over the concrete barrier the other side, and then carried on, and eventually rolled up to our hotel at about 9:30 in the evening. Oh my god.
Oh, just exhausted.
Yeah, rescued by pizza.
Wow. And how did you fare up to riding 100 and odd miles every day? Were you physically? Because it sounds like you had a great time. Physically, were you all right through all of it?
Yeah, we used chamois cream every single day, I'm so glad I packed it.
Oh yeah.
So I do honestly think that did help.
Oh yeah, no question.
Rich's hands got very, very numb.
Okay.
From not being able to, I guess they were in a similar position a lot of the time.
Okay.
I got a really weird pain in my shoulder, and I had a massage when we got back, and she said, "Oh my god, that is really, really tight," but I don't know. And she said, "You haven't had a fall or anything, have you?" And I kind of thought, initially I thought, no, I haven't had a, and then I thought, oh yeah, I did fall off my bike, so maybe I did hurt my shoulder a bit, but it was almost like that just really hurt. So you'd find yourself trying to do a like just really stretch your back, because if you're hunched over all the time, so doing the opposite of that really. So you'd be coming up to traffic lights just stretching, or like trying to pull your right arm behind you a bit to stretch. So that hurt a little bit. Legs, you could feel your thighs quite a lot going up hills, but generally it wasn't so bad. I guess they get used to it a bit.
Right, that's interesting.
Yeah,
you just dealt with it.
We
You
were
dealt
both
with
really
10
glad
back-to-back
of the
100-mile
rest day
days.
on
Yeah.
day 6 was a rest day. So sorry, I think we did 6 days riding, then had a rest day, and then 5 more days riding.
Okay.
And both of us were like, oh, I am so glad I don't have to get that on the bike tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we were fine again for the 5 days. And I guess on that 5th day of the second chunk again, you just feel knackered. But that's probably because it's the end. And if we had to ride again for a 6th day, it probably would have been fine.
Interesting what you can do when you have to, isn't it?
Exactamundo.
Yeah, and that's going to make a massive base for you
really
going
long
into
day
inland
was
Wales.
mentally so hard, because we had the wind was blowing in our faces, and a lot of it was uphill. And when that policeman sent us off, we suddenly then had to start climbing again. It's like, oh my god, we've done enough climbing today.
Brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Well done. Sounds like an epic holiday and some epic training at the same time, which is a rare to pull off combination, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it was pretty epic. And the heat was, I know it was hot in the UK, but oh, like
Totally
I didn't
scorching.
use. I'll put it this way, Rob. I took my Gore jacket
Oh yeah, your rain
and
jacket.
it stayed in my bag the whole time. We just didn't get rain. It was really hot. There was one day we got rain, but we had arrived at the hotel within about 2 minutes of this, very heavy downpour. But I did not use my Gore jacket to ride in because it was so damn hot. And I think the day we went through Florence, it was 40 degrees.
Wow. Oh, that is scorchio, isn't it?
It was really boiling. So yeah, it was amazing. I'd thoroughly
Awesome.
recommend it. And yeah, if you do check out the blog, then, and if you do think, oh, I'd quite like to do that, or a little bit of it, or whatever, get in touch and we can send you our GPS files, and we'll highlight the bit where the police sent us off the road.
I love it. Great stuff. Right, well, I'll
Yeah.
tell you what. How about we do results and all bits and bobs from the show,
Yeah.
and then if you want to know about my ultra, I'll tell you about it at
Yes.
the end. How about that?
Yeah, definitely.
Sound
So we'll do
good?
results, then then I want to hear about your ultra.
Yeah, I'll save it to the end. There's not a lot to tell, really.
Well, there is, Rob. 50 miles. There's got to be a lot of stories within 50 miles of, what, 14 hours?
Yeah, it was something like that. Kind of lost track at the end. I'll tell you at the end in news, though. How about that?
Yeah, fine. Okay,
All right.
perfect.
So, results then, our results section this week. We've had quite a few races going on. So, results are brought to you by our sponsors, tgstore.co.uk, the home of Gore bikewear and Gore running wear. And as Helen mentioned, you see, you didn't even get to use your Gore bike jacket, Hel's, the Packlight jacket.
I tell you, no, I didn't, which really annoyed me because obviously it's a very nice jacket. And I tell you the good thing about it, though, Rob,
Yeah.
it was perfect in my pannier because it squashed up nice and light, and I knew I always had it there. So it was brilliant. So every day I got it out, and every day I put it away again when I had to repack my pannier. But yeah, really nice little bit of kit to have with me. And
Do you know what, though? People laugh at that, and the fact you've got a rain jacket that packs up so small means you can take it out with you in your back jersey pocket. And how many times you've been out with friends when it started to rain and they haven't had a jacket and you can just whip yours out? That's what makes it, isn't it? As well as being a brilliant jacket.
Yeah, totally. And it has a really good pocket in the back. So it's really good for riding because you can shove everything in your pocket. Because some riding jackets don't actually have that useful, handy
Yeah.
back pocket, whereas this
Yeah.
one does. So yeah, that's brilliant. Rob, I wore it more yesterday. I was in Llandudno yesterday, and I had it pre-race when it was chucking it down, and I had it post-race when it was still a little bit windy to keep the wind off and to keep me warm.
And we haven't even mentioned that. You came back from a massive riding holiday. I get a text that says, "Don't kill me, Rob. I'm going to go and race at Llandudno tomorrow." And you finished second, so congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I didn't want to tell you. You'd be like, Helen, that's ridiculous.
You are uncoachable.
But yeah, but the main reason I wanted to do it was because I wanted to swim in the sea. I didn't really want to swim in the sea. This is the point, but I'm doing Ironman Wales. I don't have much experience of swimming in the British Sea at all, and I am so glad I did it because I found it really scary.
I was going to say, did you get your money's worth? Was it a bit choppy?
There was quite a swell when we were swimming, but it was more the jellyfish.
Okay.
I was so scared. I was so scared. And it was quite cold. It was really cold. And they made us, very interesting actually, Rob. Sorry, we will come on to results. But, we did do a coach's couch a couple of weeks ago about getting used to that temperature of the cold water. And you were saying to flush out your wetsuit.
Yeah.
So just before they got us in the sea, when we were still on the beach, they said, right, we're going to get you in that water and you're going to be in it for 5 minutes, and I want everyone to flush out their wetsuit.
Excellent.
So they really were making everyone acclimatise to the water.
That's really good race management.
It was good, but it was really cold, and they honestly had us waiting in that water for longer than 5 minutes, so it did get chuffing freezing, and then you had to swim over to where the start was. And at that point, that was when someone said, F-bomb. I've been stung by a jellyfish. Did you see them? And I'm thinking, no, I didn't see any. And then all I could think about was all these damn jellyfish. And every time I saw one, then I just swam faster. So I was kind of panicking. And at one point, I actually squealed whilst swimming, Rob. That's
Really? Squealed into the water?
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's a good skill to have.
Honestly.
Oh dear. And so, second overall, how far off the win were you?
At 6 or 7 minutes. Congratulations to Hannah Bruce from Mantry, who listened to the show, I think, and she got the win. So yeah, I had a really, really crap bike.
Did you really? Was it too
so bad.
Windy and blustery? And
I was like 6 or 7 minutes down on everyone on that bike.
Oh, bless you. Your brakes weren't on again, were they?
The brakes weren't rubbing. I did stop on the first lap because I thought, oh my God, this is shaking so much that something's got to be loose. But it wasn't. And I was on a TT bike. I would never, ever do that on a TT bike again. It is not made for TT biking.
You've just got to practice, Hells. Everything's made for TT biking. Especially when you go to Wales, mate. That's going to be a course you need to practice the twisty, turny, hilly, uppy, downy bits on for your TT bike for sure.
Well,
it'll pay you dividends in the future, mate.
Here's the thing. I'm glad I went and did it.
Yeah.
I seriously believe if I had been on my road bike with tri-bars and the race wheels, I would have been absolutely far more comfortable and a lot quicker. Yeah. I guess I haven't been on my TT bike for a good few weeks, and I certainly haven't really done much descending on it. So yeah, there's a lesson right there to take away.
Yeah.
I can tick the most comfortable on is the bike you're fastest on. I have done a swim, so that's good. And then the run, Rob, it was a really good race actually, I think, to do before Wales because it's hilly. Well, it's a choppy sea swim, tough hilly bike, and then a tough hilly run as well.
Yeah.
And I was pretty pleased with my run. I was I did the fastest run split.
Brilliant.
And only 7 males were faster than me in the run.
Hey, well done, H.
Yeah.
So there's the secret to running right there. Don't run at all and ride across Italy.
Exactly. Don't run for 2 weeks and then go and...
It's like I always said though, right? If you have a period of time off the bike or off running, it doesn't mean you're going to be rubbish in your next race. Often it freshens you up for that sport and you feel brilliant.
Yeah. I thought on the fourth lap on the bike, I thought, oh man, my legs feel really heavy now.
Yeah.
I thought this run's going to be hell. But someone had clearly overtaken me on the last lap and came out of transition, I don't know, probably about a minute ahead, but I could see her down the road. And I was like, right, I'm catching her. And then I did catch her. And then I knew someone else had like flown by on the first lap of the bike. And then at the turnaround point, I could see again she was ahead of me, and I think I got her with about 2k to go. And then I daren't turn around. I was like, right, you just got to get to the finish line. Keep on running, keep on running.
Awesome. Well done you. Second place is brilliant. I love it.
Thanks.
Get used to those single-digit numbers for Ironman Wales. That's my advice to you.
No, get used to a time trial bike. That's the advice. And don't be scared of the jellyfish.
Right, come on. We better actually do some results, hadn't we?
I think so. Should we start at Wimbledon, Rob?
Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll also say, just before we get started, you can get 10% off at tgstore.co.uk with the code Oxygenaddict10. So first race up was Ironman UK 70.3 Wimbledon, the final episode. I think it's been there for 11 years, is it? 10, 11, 12 years now?
Yeah.
I think I did the first episode of it was in 2006. I did it then. So, yeah, it must have been either the 11th year or something this year. So 10 years, 11 years worth of that. No pro race there. There's not been for a couple of years. Tough old course, that one, Hells, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, tough course. I think it was the 12th and final one. Really nice swim, and then a tough bike and a blinking tough run to finish off with. Yeah,
good stuff. So... results from this race this time. Men was taken out by Martin Zizek in 4:49, Max Hazel in second in 4:57, and Oliver Burrows in third in 4:58.
And then the one to watch that we pointed out earlier this year, Ruth Purbrook, Team Free Speed and a Precision Hydration. They work with them, don't they?
Yeah.
She took the overall win in 5:11. Great result there for Ruth. Elaine Garvican second in the 35 to 39 category, 5:22. And then congratulations, Heather Fell, Olympic silver medalist in modern pentathlon from Beijing in 2008. She was third in 5:27, and I know that Heather qualified for Kona at Ironman South Africa, so she's
Brilliant.
busy training for that as well.
Great stuff. All right, next set of results. I think there's a bit more success for Team Free Speed here, actually, over at the Swissman Extreme Triathlon, which is like their version of Norseman or Triathlon X or something like that. The male race, now they haven't actually got the results listed here at the moment, but the male race was taken out by Alan Frederick, and ladies race was taken out by Tabia Ruger. But I'd encourage you to go and check this out. The website is suixtry.com. It's one of these crazy ride up a mountain, run up a mountain events, and the pictures look absolutely brilliant from that, don't they?
They do. They really, really do. It was one that I'd really fancied a year or so ago.
We talked about doing it, didn't we? Both of us a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and then I look at it and I'm like, yeah, no, I think it's just a bit too mental. But yeah, absolutely.
Maybe one day, Helen.
I don't know. Stunning part of the world, though. I think I'd be happier just going and running up Kleine Schleidegg or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Rather than doing all the swimming and biking too. There we go.
Next up, we had Ironman Mont Tremblant, or was it 70.3 Mont Tremblant?
Yep, that's right. It was a 70.3, beautiful part of Canada. It's crazy to think that I was there in the snow earlier this year, and then you see it in completely sunny skies, and like there is no way I would have got in that lake in when we were there in December.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looked like really, really beautiful conditions, and another win, Rob. Well, we can say that for both the men and the women, but Lionel Sanders took it out in the men's race in 3:46 ahead of Taylor Reid in 3:52 and Cody Beals in 3:54. So 1, 2, 3 for Canada in the men's race. And then in the women's race, Holly Lawrence again continued her incredible winning streak in 4:14, take the win ahead of Sarah True in 4:18 of the USA and Magali Tessier of Canada in 4:19. Rob, I liked Sarah True's comments at the end. She's obviously an ITU athlete and has done loads and loads of racing, but she said something along the lines of, what a finish, because you get poutine at the end of the race.
You get what, Ed?
Poutine, which is the Canadian speciality of chips and gravy with cheese.
Oh, right, okay. Not the Russian president.
No. Oh, and Rob, should point out, your friend Laundry Jackson got 4th in the men's race.
Awesome. Great stuff. Love it. All right, and then the final result for this week at the Cardiff Triathlon. Always aim high. Tracked at a high quality field in the elite race, partly I think because of some decent prize money on offer. We had wins for Adam Bowden and Beth Potter. Yeah,
Beth Potter, the interesting one, Rob, because I think we've mentioned this before. So she's a track athlete as well. So she says, second try, first win, thanks to the people around me who always believed in me. Next up, London for the World Champs, 5th of August. What she means by that is the Athletics World Championships in London this year.
Wow. What event does she compete in?
10,000 metres.
10,000?
Yeah.
Brilliant. It's amazing to see somebody crossing over so effectively, isn't it?
Yeah, superb. So she swam as a youngster up in Scotland, but yeah, she's definitely made a very neat transition so far. So it'll be really cool to follow her.
Great.
On the way to Tokyo.
And Adam Bowden was a track athlete as well originally, wasn't he? He was a steeplechaser. Yeah. Seeing more and more of these guys and girls coming over into triathlon. I think if they swam a bit as a kid, as the years go by. Cool. Right then, next up on today's show, we have Coach's Couch. We've had a question from David Irwin. It ties in a little bit, Hells, about what you were talking about the swimming. He says, how much does a good wetsuit improve your open water swimming compared to an entry-level suit? And is it worth the investment? So there's loads of stuff we can talk about, David, to do with wetsuits. And I think whether or not it's a good, or in inverted commas, an expensive wetsuit compared to an entry-level one is nowhere near as important as the most important part about wetsuits is, does it fit? So obviously there's a lot of the online industry selling things cheaply these days, but the thing I want to stress to you is if you've got a badly fitting wetsuit, and that means even if it's too big or too small, it's not going to be as good as something that might be cheaper that fits you perfectly. So if you possibly can, get to a real shop, try on 2 or 3 of the same model and brand of wetsuit in different sizes, because often you find that when you lie them down side by side, they don't look all that different lying down next to each other. We ideally want a situation where it's not too tight, because you can squeeze yourself into a wetsuit, and everyone's got that friend who has borrowed a wetsuit off somebody a bit smaller than them, but that really can be very restrictive around the shoulders and can really hold you back in terms of your swimming. But you don't want it to be even a little bit too big, because you're going to find water will get in at the neck, water will get in, and especially it tends to be around the lower back, especially for the skinny athletes. You get this little kind of gap down at the lower back where water pools, and it's just not a great fit. So you'll find that the more money you spend, you're probably going to find the suit is more flexible. You probably find that the suit has got much thinner neoprene all around the arms and the shoulders, which is obviously going to reduce the amount of fatigue you feel when you're swimming in a wetsuit for the first time. And I think something to check that's most important with wetsuits these days is that it's the right buoyancy for you. Now, don't assume that just because the suit is more expensive, it's going to be better. In fact, what we tend to see from a lot of the big brands is their most expensive suit tends to be aimed at elite athletes. And what elite athletes want and need from a suit is very different from what your weaker swimmer wants from a suit. What a weaker swimmer wants is that it's quite buoyant and floaty, so it'll really help you out. And it'll actually improve your swim splits quite a lot if you get in a suit that's right for you, because say you've got the traditional runner's build or the cyclist build with sinky legs in the water, if you get a suit that's, you'll often see them referred to as a 3-5, where the legs are 5 mil thick and the body is 3 mil thick, that's relatively going to lift your legs up in the water and help you float. Now, a lot of the companies, their elite suits are not made like that. They're made with really thin neoprene all the way over, because really good swimmers, they actually don't want their body position messing with at all. So I've had a few athletes who've bought the most expensive suit, hasn't really worked for them. They've swapped or borrowed a less expensive suit, but it's got more buoyancy in, and it's really helped improve their swimming. So again, key things are, it's not how expensive the suit is, it's whether it fits you properly and whether it's got the right buoyancy for your kind of swimming. So get yourself to a reputable shop that can give you the advice that you need, rather than just buying something online as a first instance. I think that's the way to go.
Definitely. I tried a variety of different wetsuits on different brands, and you could just tell straight away some of them, they just feel uncomfortable for you. They might be perfect for someone else, but
Exactly.
they don't suit you.
Yeah.
And Rob, brilliantly yesterday at the start of the race, this guy, he didn't have his the Velcro bit done up at the back, so I went over to him. I was like, "Oh, you haven't got your Velcro bit. Do you want me to sort it out?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So, but I didn't think he had his zip pulled up.
Right.
So I went to pull the zip up, and then it kind of went.
And it was a backward zip.
And I thought, "Oh, shit! I've broken his zip. Oh my god!" Anyway, no. Turned out he had a flashy hoop one. You know, the ones where you could just rip open the zip.
Yeah. Phew.
But, heart in the mouth moment. I thought, oh my
Yeah.
god, we're about to get in the water, and I have literally just destroyed this man's race because I've broken his wetsuit.
Oh, bless you and bless him.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was fine.
dear.
It was fine.
Oh, cool. Right. We'll jump over for our interview of the week. This week, we've got an interview with sports psychologist Evie Serventi. Our interview is brought to you by our sponsors Tribe, who are at wearetribe.co. Now, we want to talk to you this week about Tribe's 10 recovery bar that's got 10 grams of protein in a 2-to-1 protein or 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio. It's used by all their team after their Tuesday tempo training sessions, which you can go down to at their Shoreditch Tribe headquarters and run with them on a Tuesday. And dig into the old Tribe bars afterwards. You have a few of those in your ride, Hells, I imagine, to get you through Italy.
We had quite a lot of Tribe bars. We didn't have the recovery ones, but we did have the energy ones. And Rob, they were just perfect because they actually taste nice.
Yeah.
Definitely
Surprising
got a
how
lot going
important
for
that
it.
is in sports nutrition, isn't it?
Oh, honestly, that was key. And then there were some days whereby I remember one day in particular we were hungry and we thought, right, there's a garage up the road. We'll be able to get something at the garage. It's not ideal, but it'll be fine. The garage was shut.
Oh,
We're thinking,
no.
oh man. And then we had another 8k to go. Turned out to be an 8 kilometer climb. But we had a Tribe bar just to sort of fill that gap between, right, well, we can't carry on for another 8k because we need some food, so let's get it in. So yeah, they were an absolute lifesaver on our trip through Italy. Definitely, we had proper, I say proper food as well, you know what I mean, pizza,
Yeah.
whatever, midway through rides, but actually just to have some extra energy midway through the afternoon or midway through the morning, perfect and yummy.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little admission. When Rushy and I did our mountain marathon in Snowdonia, that event was sponsored by Tribe, and I kept sneaking an extra Tribe bar into my backpack so I could use them at the ultra 2 weeks later. Oh, I'm such a cheapskate. So yeah, they powered me around my ultra as well. So highly recommended by both Helen and me. Whether or not that influences your choice of sports nutrition, I've got no idea, but we love them. Taste delicious and get the job done. So check them out at wearetribe.co. And yeah, if you haven't done yet, get yourself the free sample pack for £1. Just follow the instructions over at wearetribe.co and use the code. Oh, I've forgotten the code.
Oxygenaddict.
Oxygenaddict. All right. So we'll take us over. Hells, tell us a little bit about our interview with Evie Serventi.
Yeah, well, I decided that we needed to get Evie on because a lot of people had been in touch for Coach's Couch about the sports psychology side of things and training the mind as well. So we decided to grab a word with Evie. So hopefully you'll have a few tips in here and a bit of a giggle if you've got your races coming up and how you can prepare mentally, if you've got fears or anything like that. So check it out. And Evie talks a bit about herself and her background in the beginning, so I won't go more into that. So here it is. Our interview of the week this week is with Evie Serventi.
Evie Serventi, hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Helen. I'm great, thank you. I'm really excited to be on your show this morning. And yeah, Monday morning, feeling good after a nice sleep. What could possibly be better than talking to you?
It's the best thing about Mondays. I love it. I absolutely love it. So Evie, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in sports psychology as well.
First and foremost, I'm a journalist. I'm Australian, obviously, and I moved to England about 9 years ago, and I'm a health and fitness journalist. I've been working, in that industry for a while, and over the years, I started to notice, and I've always played sport and been a runner and enjoyed my sport, and my family are quite sporty, and my father actually, in the last sort of 7-8 years, I noticed, he would walk every morning and he had a very high stress, high pressure job. And he started to basically use exercise as an intervention for mental health. And it was just something that I hadn't really thought about before. But then looking at him and observing the way I could see, not only physically was he, improving his health, but mentally he was more confident. He was sharper, he was good at making decisions, he was adventurous. So the older he became, the younger he became. And I actually I thought that's down to exercise in part. And I've always written for as a freelancer for magazines and, been quite intuitive and loved psychology. So all of a sudden I woke up and thought, well, I'm going to become a sports psychologist. And obviously being, a runner, going into races and training, had a lot of experience with, self-doubt, self-sabotaging, and then realising the impact that used to have on my performance. So it just seemed natural. I retrained, and I'm now I'm a trainee sport and exercise psychologist. So I'm doing my stage 2 supervision towards chartership with the British Psychology Society, and I'm really enjoying it. I work with athletes, with exercises, with schools. It's a really lovely job, and the great thing about it is I get to help people help themselves. So
which
it's good.
Ticks many boxes on so many levels.
Well, yeah, I hope so.
So, Evie, you mentioned there about the link between mental health and exercise, so physical health, I guess, as well. Can you go a little bit more into that? Almost like, how are they linked?
Well, there's a lot of evidence behind it. Physiologically, when your body is moving and you're exercising, you're releasing endorphins, the happy hormone. Your muscles are relaxing, oxygen's pumping through your body, and your body's physically feeling good. And then it's a cause and effect. And mentally, movement has been shown to improve your well-being on many levels. Great example, parkrun. It's like a wildfire. It's caught on globally, and in fact, parkrun have their own research base, and there is evidence that it's green exercise. It's incredibly beneficial mentally. People feel confident. People feel, through moving and through regular exercise, even once a week, they forge friendships. They feel, they can think clearly, sets up their day. That's one area. Another one is, with depression, people who have anxiety and, mood disorders, more and more exercise is becoming an intervention to help mitigate those symptoms. So, doctors and GPs referring people to do exercise and to join a group, join a running group. And, it doesn't have to be performance-based. It's purely the act of getting out there and doing something for yourself that's physical. So there are so many benefits. I think socially, physically, mentally, the three are entwined, and it's continuing. I mean, I'm embarking on research myself, and I'm looking at the benefits of exercise for everyday exercises, and people with all sorts of challenges in life. And we've just seen with the marathon, talking heads and lots and lots of different people and examples of the way exercise has helped people. Running has helped people almost change their life. So it's great because the media is now a tool, and more people are understanding the benefits, and through documentaries and interviews and the Royals. Yeah, it's great.
I guess that is part of it, that even for people listening to this, perhaps they don't have anxiety, perhaps they don't have depression, but actually we've all had down days, we've all had dippy days, we've all had stressful days at work, and actually, the last thing you want to do sometimes is pop your trainers on and go out for a run, but that as soon as you've done that, perhaps you do it with friends, you feel so much better afterwards.
You can do. There are barriers though, and particularly for certain groups. This girl can. So women often feel afraid, lack of confidence around going out. Perhaps they've not done that for a long time, and the thought of getting out there and exposing yourself to society in one way is quite a big barrier, and it outweighs the benefit. And so joining a running group or having just a friend to encourage you to step out that door and go for a walk is the first step. And it's when those benefits start to sort of outweigh the barrier, it becomes more habitual. And you're right, instinctively, if you've got to get up and go out and you don't feel like wanting to get out, you're low in motivation, part of you almost thinks of the end result. I know I'll feel great. I know I want to get out there and do this. And sometimes you can, and sometimes, you have more of a mental battle with yourself. It's always good if you can do it, though, push through and just take that first step. I remember speaking to, I think it's Helen Jenkins, actually, about motivation, and asking her, what do you do when you just don't feel like getting out there? And she said, well, I always tell myself, put the shoes on and just take the first step, just get out there, and then you've done it. And she's right. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, Evie, we're sort of in the thick of the race season now in the UK, in the Northern Hemisphere. The water's warmed up a little bit.
I don't know about that.
Well, honestly, I tell you, it has. So, we want to know, how can we improve our mental strength when we go into races? Because we will have all spent, the winter training physically. We've spent hours on the turbo, hours ploughing up and down the pool. But I don't know, I haven't really thought about the mental side of things. So let's talk a bit more about that. First of all, let's start with that inevitable feeling of dread quite often in the week or two leading up to a race. Why does that happen every time?
I know. It's funny, you're right. It doesn't matter what level you're at. Whether you are a complete beginner or you're an elite, you have that feeling at some point in your racing career or your life. And, I think it's human nature. I think the first thing that we do is feel, I'm not good enough, or I start thinking about what the race involves, who's doing it, how fit are they. It's self-doubt, and it's I think it's a natural thing that we go through. The key, I believe, is to acknowledge it. So, okay, I've got some doubts. Secondly, breathe. As soon as you start to feel nervous, you stop breathing. And it's a perpetual thing. You start to feel worse. You're not letting oxygen pump around your body. So take some deep breaths, sit down and really break it down. Think about, why am I panicking? What am I worried about? Put them on a piece of paper, list them. Now, if it's things like, well, Helen, for you, what do you worry? Well, you don't actually have that. You were saying you don't really think about going to a race and feel nervous or feel self-doubt.
I definitely have, and I think the past 2 times when I've really had that self-doubt was because I went into races with a bit of a niggle, and then that self-doubt is, I don't know if I can finish this. I don't know if I can do what I know I'm capable of.
Okay, so what I would say is, what are you? So those are the things you're not sure about. What are you sure about? So I would list the things that you're sure about. For example, with you, you've done training.
Yep.
You have got a niggle. Now, you'll know at that point, intuitively, is that niggle bad enough for you to continue or not? You make that decision.
Yeah.
So if you make that decision, okay, I've managed it in training, I'll manage it in the race. Okay, that's one decision you've made, so you write that down. Your fueling. Well, you know what you can have nutrition-wise, so prepare your nutrition and your hydration properly. You know what you're going to wear, so you can be sure of what kit you're going to be wearing and prepare the right shoes, the right sunglasses, everything that you need. What else? So research the race. You know where you have to go. You know what time you have to be there. So they're all the knowns. They're all the controllables, if you like. So the uncontrollables are, not sure if that niggle's going to turn into something worse. Don't know who else is competing. I don't know if I can do this. Now, you're not going to know though, right?
No.
So it's a fairly it's not a very foolproof strategy to go in thinking like that. Why is that though? Why do you think that is? Thinking of those uncontrollables.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, except feel worried.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you have all those uncontrolled, they're the things that you can't control. So yeah, they are the ones that do just make you panic because you don't really have an answer to them, do you? No,
that's right. So what I would recommend, and a lot of my colleagues recommend, is those are there, accept them. What's also there is your resources. Your resources. So everything we talked about before, the controllables, your race preparation. You've done the training. You've got a niggle. You know the extent, at least in training, where that niggle is. You've got your nutrition right. You've got people supporting you. You've got transport to get to the event. All of those things. So if you focus on those things, it will calm you down, and you'll feel confident that you know that those are the things that you've got in the bag. And another thing to do is to have, a what if strategy. So ask yourself a couple of questions like, okay, I'm going to go into the race. Now, what if my niggle starts to get really bad? Then have a solution for that. So, Helen, what if your niggle halfway through the race starts to really hurt? What would your solution be? What would your answer be to that?
I would assess it at that time, and if I thought it was going to do long-term damage, then I would stop. If I thought I could walk it through or something, if I was on the run by that point, then I'd probably walk it through to the finish line. But I would have both options. So, i.e., worst case scenario, I pull out.
Okay. So it's obviously not an ideal scenario.
Yeah.
Yet you have a plan.
Yeah.
You have a mental plan. So it's having thought through those options before you go into the race when you're calm, because during the race, obviously you've got a lot on your mind. So that's another thing that I'd recommend, have a what if. What if I start to feel really, really thirsty and haven't got any water? Okay, what would you do then? So you have a solution. You look for the next stop, water stop, slow down slightly, calm yourself down, tell yourself you'll be okay. So it's just having those mental strategies in place before you go in, give you that confidence and arm you with a little bit more reassurance that you'll get through. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense, definitely. Because that's, I have never worked with a sports psychologist before, but I have, you read different articles, don't you, in magazines or whatever, saying,
Sure.
Prepare yourself for a race. And often I have read about if you've thought through everything, then you've prepared almost your brain for all these scenarios that could happen. I guess one, I think for me, on a sort of personal level, when do I feel most nervous? It's probably those like last 10, 15 minutes before, when you're in your wetsuit, and then suddenly you get a dry mouth and all those kind of things. And I don't know why at that point you get even more nervous.
I think, you've got good nerves and bad nerves. You are nervous, and it can be excitement. You want the race to just start. And don't underestimate the atmosphere and the energy from everybody else. They're all feeling the same. And that's often something that I think. So going in and you're right, the dry mouth, like, oh God, this isn't great. It's almost like it's building and building and building. Breathing is a really simple and effective technique, and diaphragmatic breathing. So just if that happens, you can calm yourself down, take a deep breath. I often close my eyes. There are lots of different things you can do, Helen. You can have a word that resonates with you, like a trigger word that you say to yourself that will instantly make you feel a little bit calmer. It could be a word that you associate with a race where you finished really, really well. You felt fantastic at the end. It could be the name of that event. And if you say that to yourself at the beginning of that event when you're starting to feel really, really nervous, that can instantly make you feel a little bit more relaxed. And again, everybody else is going through the same thing. Try and just block them out and focus on you and reassure yourself. That positive self-affirmation and positive self-talk, you might read a lot about that as well from sports psychologists. It does work. You are your own best friend. You can reassure yourself more than anybody else can. Someone can say to you, "You'll do great, Helen. You'll be fantastic." But ultimately, it's more powerful when it comes from yourself. So at the beginning of that race, when you're getting into the water, waiting for that gun start, deep breaths, close your eyes, think of that trigger word. Remember, everyone's feeling the same. Reassure yourself, I've got this. I can do this. Sounds easy in theory, doesn't it?
So
all goes out the window.
Yeah. I was going to ask actually about mantras, and it's in a way it's a bit of a similar thing to that trigger word. Like, why? Do mantras work? And if so, why do they work? What does that trigger word do? What do mantras do?
That's a very good question. Familiarization, I think, is one thing that they do. So the way you choose a mantra for yourself, it's a very personal thing. Again, it's the resonation, it's the emotion that you attach to that word. So, for example, if I asked you to develop a mantra that you can use when you're in the race and you're starting to feel really fatigued and you want to give yourself, more energy and more motivation to continue, I would say to you, tell me about a time. So I'd ask you about an actual experience that you've had. Tell me about a time where you felt fantastic, you were really, really confident, you felt like you had a lot of energy, you felt you were strong, you felt you were on top of the world, invincible, and you were smiling. And then I'd ask you to describe that experience. So literally tell me all about it. Describe the sounds, the smells, the memories that you've got, the people that were there. And then that situation, that scenario, again, instead of a mantra, that can be used, when you need to draw on it during a race. So the more you'd write down that scenario, then you'd look at it as part of your training, every week. And when you read it, you'll conjure that emotion that you had back in that experience in that moment. And that's what you want. You want that memory to trigger that same emotion and self-belief that you had back then. So that's what the mantra often does as well. It's a quick way, one word, to help you conjure that emotion and that experience that makes you feel fantastic. But equally, you can, it's visualization. You can think of that experience and the sounds and smells and sights that you remember made you feel fantastic. You can do that, or it can be triggered through one word, like the Almere Ironman, or whatever it is. So it's, to answer your question, it's the familiarization and the emotion that it conjures in you in that moment, which gives you that self-belief that you can push through and do it, and actually give you that push to make you feel more energetic and more motivated.
And what about visualization? Is that a useful tool as well to have in your box?
Your toolkit, your mental toolkit.
Yeah.
For me, it does work. Everyone's different. Some people are more kinesthetic, some are more auditory. Again, that's why when I ask my clients to, in terms of visualization, think of a time where you felt confident, and I know that they're a more kinesthetic person, they relate more to feeling something more than seeing something. I'd ask them, how did that feel? How did your legs feel when you were pushing through and felt fantastic? How did your body feel? How did you feel mentally? If they're more visual, I would say, what did you see? What were the crowd doing? What were your competitors doing? What was the sky like? Was it blue? So again, it's tapping into what that person relates to more, so visual, kinesthetic, auditory, and working with that. Visualization does work. I think the more you practice it in your training, the more effective it is. And that's another thing I'd say. Everybody has a physical training plan. Run this many times a week, strength train this many times a week, cross train, etc. Rest. It's not often you do your mental skills for 10, 15 minutes. When you ask someone, at the end of a race, what was it that made or break the performance? Often it's the mental aspect of it. Mentally, once you're physically fit, it's often your mind that gets you over the line and has a huge impact on your performance. So it's funny that we don't spend a lot of time in training on the mind. So the more you do that, I think the better you're armed going into the race.
So I guess a big thing is the time that we have in a week, right? And so that's when you just think, I've got to go and get that bike session done. I've got to go and do that gym session. And it's difficult to take that time and just have a moment to yourself, have 10 minutes. So can you do your mental training while you're commuting, something like that? Can you kill two birds with one stone, or is it something that, right, go and find yourself a quiet space and do that?
Well,
and how do we do it?
Okay. I think the great thing about the mind you carry it with you all the time. You can do it anywhere. So once you understand you've got a few mental skills, techniques that you want to try, and you work through with a sports psychologist or with someone, a mental coach, you become better at it. So, for example, the visualization. Once you choose an experience that you want to work with to visualize when you're racing, you write it down, and smells, sights, sounds. So write down that experience, have it on a piece of paper, and that's your visualization to read. That might take you 15, 20 minutes to start with, but once you read it, you'll remember it. And when you're on the turbo or you're swimming, you can think about it. You can tap into that visualization, go there. So you can do it while you're training. So you can incorporate them. And you're right. It's a massive challenge fitting in your runs and your cross training, and when you're working, family, everything. So do it while you're training, as part of the training.
Like it. What about...
And while you're commuting too. Commuting's great.
When it comes to an actual race again, are there any benefits of having a routine, or like a lucky charm? Because you read about footballers, maybe I've got to be the last out the tunnel, or I have to wear my special pants. I tend to have a pair of socks that I love wearing. They're pink. I love wearing them when I race, right?
What do they do for you, your socks?
Well, I know they're comfortable. They're bright.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get blisters from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, I just, they take me to a good place.
Perfect. If they work for you, they work for you. That's it. It's so personal, Helen. Everyone has something that resonates, right? And that makes them feel great. And, I've written about this a lot and talked about this with a lot of different colleagues. And, is a pre-race routine the same as a ritual? If you don't have your socks and you start to feel really anxious, that's when it becomes, you're really relying heavily on those. So is that then a superstition? Are you anxious because you think now the race isn't going to go well because you haven't got your pink socks? So it's to answer your question, pre-race routines and, rituals, they are good. They do work for lots of different people. You do read about a lot of elites that have their routine. They like to have, get up at this time, have breakfast. It's a calming process. And again, it's something that's within your control. And it's something that you associate pre-race. It makes you feel like you're getting into gear for the race. Sometimes you're in your own zone when you're going through your routine. So I think they do work. And, there are so many different routines that people have, down to pink socks, having a banana, not having a banana. Some people need to get up in the morning, say good morning to their family, and speak. That's for some people, they need to just speak to someone else and it feels calm to them. And that's as far as their routine goes. Whereas other people have a very structured routine. They have, 12 sultanas with muesli and, coffee. And not to be fair, that could be someone's routine.
The 12 sultanas is kind of like resonating. Not quite 12, but it's definitely, you sort of look at them and you're like, yeah, that's about right.
Not too many, not too few.
Exactly. I don't count them.
You don't count them. They're already pre-counted, right? The night before.
in a pillbox. What about Evie, when you get further into the race, whether it's a triathlon, whether you're doing a time trial, whether you're doing a marathon, whether you're doing an ultra, there are going to be dark patches in that race. What strategies are there that you can adopt to help yourself get through those?
That's a good question too. Again, depending on the depth of that dark place, first of all, think about yourself physically, because often, you may be dehydrated, you may need fuel, and that can then affect the way you're thinking. So I'd assess yourself physically physically first. So, am I thirsty? When did I last have some fuel? And it may be that you need to stop and have some fuel. And then if that part is okay, then switch to, so work through it mentally. Right, what is it that's bugging me? I feel like I can't do this. Okay, self-talk. You can do this. You've done the training. Think of the evidence. Think of you've done the homework. That's what I always, you're always going to have doubts. And when you're tired, it's a lot easier for doubts to overtake than the positive thoughts. But I would slow down again. Slow down a little. You don't have to continue at that pace. What is it you're trying to achieve with the race as well? Is it that you want to enjoy the race? You want to get through? You want to finish feeling good? And draw on the crowd as well. You tap into that cheering and the support. People are there for you. And often that can be really effective. And I would talk to myself, okay, I can do this. I've done the training. All the training went well. I was really looking forward to this. I'm just having a wobbly moment. I can push myself through this. You've got your coach isn't there to do that for you during the race. You are your best resource. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. What about when you have a bad race? How do you get over that?
Oh, a bad race in you didn't do as well as you wanted to, or
let's do both. So let's say you had a bad race because you didn't do as well as you think you were capable of doing.
Okay. First of all, the word failure, I would replace, if anyone's using that, with feedback. It sounds cheesy, but it's true. You didn't pass or fail anything. You just didn't perform as well as you wanted to. So learn from it. You can always take positives from any race. What went wrong? Okay, shoes came off, ran out of energy. What can I do to mitigate that for the next race? So work through it, pick out some positives, and resolve it in your mind. And also, if you're training for a marathon and halfway through your marathon training, you do a half marathon, and that half marathon went terribly wrong. You didn't finish, for example. You may have only done 10 miles, and you pulled out for whatever reason. You've still banked that 10 miles, and it's very difficult mentally to get over that. But again, talk through, why did I stop? What went wrong? Okay, I've still done 10 miles. I still did a really good 10-mile race pace effort, and that's helped me towards my goal of the marathon. I was talking to Professor Martin Haggard, renowned sports psychologist from the UK who lives in Perth, Australia, and I talked to him about, when you have a DNF, how do you get over that? And he said you can always learn from a race and never discount what you've done in that race. That's always working. It's working towards your goal.
What about if you're dealing with a really bad injury, or perhaps you've just had a year out of the sport for family reasons or whatever? What about the mental side of that? And you kind of think, how am I ever going to get back to perhaps where I was?
It's a tough one. Try and stay focused in the moment. You can't go back. You can only go forward. And for whatever reason, you've had a break, whether it is to have a child or you've had an injury. During that injury rehabilitation time, strength training is really important. Often athletes will work really, really hard to heal that injury, and often do a lot more than they would have done beforehand before they got the injury. So it's drawing on the evidence that, since I got this injury 6 months ago, I've been doing dedicated strength training. I've been cross-training a lot more. I've been working with my sports psychologist a lot more. So mentally I'm a lot stronger. So it's drawing on those resources and drawing on that work that you've done to feel confident that you're going to be okay when you start up again. And, it's very difficult to compare yourself to where you were because you're different now. Time's gone on. Can you get the same results at the same times as you got previously? Again, reassure yourself that you can work towards it. You'll do your best. You can only ever do your best. And having done, all that hard work during that off phase, if you're injured, it's more than likely that you'll do it. If you've you're not exercised at all for a year, you've had a family, again, start slowly, start small. Phone a friend and say, look, I just need some support. So voice it. Join your local running club, and try not to pressure yourself and be realistic. Instead of saying, right, I'm going to get out there and run 5 times a week, and I'm not going to stop. Is that sustainable? So be realistic and look at your lifestyle and say, right, well, I could walk that morning with my friend. I can go to running on Tuesday night. I'll do that every week, and then I might start doing some swimming. And I want to really enjoy it. So have a goal as well attached to that physical plan, and reassure yourself that you can do it. Try not to think back, think back to where you were. We all do it, don't we?
We all do it. Evie, I feel very positive having spoken to you for the last half an hour or so. I mean, I've felt like I've learned something from this, so I think that hopefully, because we've had quite a lot of questions previously about the mental side of things and the sports psychology side of things. So it's really good to have had you on to actually talk through some of it, and with some of the techniques and the strategies that we can actually adopt during a race, before a race, during the whole year. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's been fun. I really hope, a lot of your listeners get something out of this, and more than happy to help any of your listeners with some race plans, as they're going into the season. So get in touch with me. You can email me at sportspsych@evieserventi.com and find me on my website, evieserventi.com.
Great stuff, and I reckon that's going to help loads of our listeners out in their upcoming events, Hells.
I really hope so, because I think there's some really handy stuff in there, and also just to know that, we all go through the same feelings. And like I was saying earlier, I didn't really think I had that much of a fear of swimming until then I was faced with jellyfish as well. So it's just about getting yourself over those kind of things, and getting yourself, if you're doing Ironman UK in a couple of weeks, you're probably going to go through a tricky patch at some point. Yeah. So how can you get yourself through that? So brilliant stuff. So thank you very much to Evie, and I think we've put a link to her website and things in the show notes.
Cool stuff. Go and check it out. Yeah, totally. All right, so last section for this week, we've got our news section sponsored by Precision Hydration. You go over to precisionhydration.com and check them out. Their offer for you this week is ask our listeners to ask the sweat experts their hydration questions. So if you've got any questions at all about hydration for your upcoming races, you can ask them either by twittering them at the sweat experts, or direct to Dave at dc@precisionhydration.com. And what we'll do is those guys will get your questions, they'll get the experts at their company to answer them for you, and we will read them out online for you next week. So any questions that you might have that you might not understand, get them sent in to at the sweat experts on Twitter, or dc@precisionhydration.com. You can also remember that if you're trying to pick yourself up some swag from Precision Hydration, you can get 15% off the product with the code Oxygenaddict15 at their website, precisionhydration.com. Can't stress this enough. These guys kept me alive in my ultra 2 weeks ago. That's not me being figurative. That's me being literal. They kept me alive during that event. So Dave and the team very much appreciate not being dead right now. Thank you very much. All right, a couple of things to talk about in our news section. The first one, Hals, that you probably missed out on when you were riding was 70.3 Syracuse. There was a lady athlete disqualified who got caught. She got caught letting the tyre down of one of her competitors, right? I don't know if you've seen this.
Oh my God.
But she actually got caught because the guy, the lady whose bike it was that was being tampered with, her husband was actually walking past transition and was taking photos at the time, and had a kind of, "Oi, you're messing with my wife's bike" moment. There's a brilliant write-up on Slow Twitch about it. And of course, if you go and check out the forum thread, it's like, this woman should be sent to prison for doing this. And bless her, the woman who did it basically fessed up and held her hands up and just said, "I don't know what I was thinking. I just lost the plot totally, and I'm really, really sorry."
But how many times has she done it before?
I don't know.
Was it the first time?
I'm telling you, I'm taking down Matt Bottrell and Foggy. That's my race strategy. They're out into the water. I'm letting their tyres down. Shouldn't joke about it, should I?
Isn't that just...
Yeah, isn't it?
It's a sport. We do it for fun. My
Why
God.
Why would you want to let
what
down?
are you coming to, Rob?
I know. It's bonkers, isn't it? It really, really is. I suppose, I wonder if
pathetic.
70.3 Syracuse is one of
pathetic.
those races where they've got Kona slots on the line and somebody's so desperate that it's just mad though, isn't it?
It's absolutely mad. There is more to life than...
Yeah.
There is more to life than qualifying for a world championship.
Well, take it from us. If you find yourself considering cheating in this way in order to win a slot somewhere, take it from us that, reevaluate your life a little bit.
Exactly. I'm not impressed with that. I don't think Mark Allen would be impressed with that. That is not what he was telling us.
He would not, would he?
Was it about being happy?
Yeah.
Happy with yourself.
Yeah.
I bet this person is really not happy in herself.
Did you like that interview?
Deflating tyres is not going to make her happy.
Bit of Mark Allen interview.
I loved it.
He's great, isn't he? What a good guy.
Yeah.
I hope we can get him over to the UK next year.
It'd be cool. I would be very interested. I was listening the other day and I just thought, oh yeah, he's speaking my language.
Yeah. You'd love him, H. You really would.
Yeah, it was good.
He's a deep guy. He's cool. All right, another little bit of news as well is at the National in the UK, the National 50-mile Time Trial Championships have been taken out by two triathletes. The women's race was taken out by our friend Kate Allen, who we've had on the show.
We have had on the show. She's on our Swim Bike Mum special. So yeah, she's awesome, Rob.
She's fast, isn't she?
She took the 50-mile TT title, and she's only been doing it for, since 2015, hasn't she?
Yeah, and she's had a kid in between that time as well, so...
Exactly, absolutely incredible. So she did it in 1:52.11, which she said is just outside her PB, but it was pretty blustery conditions. So Kate Allen, we salute you. Really, really well done.
We salute you. Well done. Yeah, and the men's race was taken out by Dan Bigham, who's a triathlete and is also the guy who Al Brownlee turned to help him out with his position and aerodynamics as he moved up to the longer distances. So he'd be an interesting guy to get on, actually, wouldn't he? If anybody knows Dan, put us in contact. He'd be make a great interview in lots of different ways, I think.
There's your homework.
Yeah, I'm going to track him down. And one last little nice bit of news. You announced this one, Hells.
Yeah, is that Meredith Kessler, who we have had on the show, has announced that she is pregnant. She says, we have a little gumption on the way. And if you go and check out her Twitter, she's at MB Kessler. She's written a really, really good blog about it and her experiences so far of pregnancy. And there's pictures of her just lying down, Rob. I think she had a real tough time with sickness in that first trimester. So, yeah, congratulations to Meredith and her husband, Aaron. And they are expecting later on this year. So that's ace. And then she does say she's hoping to be back on a start line in 2018.
Cool stuff. That's brilliant. Well done. It's nice to see that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So, Rob.
Yeah.
Go on. Fill us in. I want to hear all about the 50-mile mega ultra marathon.
Well, first off, right, hats off to Wayne Drinkwater and his team. This event was called the Pennine Barrier. His company is gbultras.com, and they put on just brilliant ultra events. They're the ones who do the Liverpool to Manchester, and next year they're organising one called the Great Britain Ultra, and it's coast to coast across Scotland, 214 miles. So a few of the people we race with are talking about doing that one, which is just beyond bonkers. But yeah, the race started in Malham. It was all off-road. It was all rather sketchy underfoot, it's got to be said. Not easy running. And you ran from Malham up to the Yorkshire Three Peaks. You ran the 25 or 26 mile loop of the Yorkshire Three Peaks. And then you ran back again, taking in a couple of big hills in each direction as well. So fairly hilly, fairly rough underfoot. Nice day for it though, which was good. It was pretty toasty the day we did it. And I didn't really know what I was doing, Hells, to be honest. I thought it sort of bimbled off and didn't go too quick, and thought, I'm pretty sure I can keep this pace up all day, and kind of was jogging along, and my mate Rushy zoomed off into the lead and he quickly disappeared, and two lads in second and third run together, they kind of disappeared, and then it was me and a bunch of like 5 or 6 other people all kind of jogging along and having a bit of a chat, and it's going to be a long day out, this, isn't it? And we did the first fell and went up, and we were all jogging and having a chat, and then, you know, me running down hills, I kind of zoomed off downhill and turned around and couldn't see anybody behind me, so I was like, oh, I guess I'm in 4th place then. That's really surprising. So I kind of bimbled along for a bit and went over the first big climb over Penny Ghent and came down the far side and was bimbling along, and some lady who was walking the 3 peaks said, "Oh wow, look, there's a runner coming. Well done, mate, you're in 1st place." And I said, "No, I'm not. There's loads of people in front of me." And she said, "No, there's not. We've seen 2 lads. They turned right at that junction back there, so they've gone that way." I was like, "Oh, all right. So they've gone the wrong way." And I was sure I'd gone the right way because I'd recce'd it and I was on the 3 peaks route. So off they went somewhere. So I was bimbling along thinking, oh well, I'm in 2nd. Well, those guys, I'm sure they'll catch me up. And they caught me up for sure and passed me, and we got into the 2nd aid station at about 20 miles, and the guy said to me, "Are you in 3rd place?" I was like, no, I'm in 4th. Rushy's in the lead. And he said, "No, we haven't seen Rushy." So Rushy, bless him, had got lost in the mist on the top of the first mountain.
Oh no.
Yeah, he'd missed the turning to drop down into the valley, and he'd gone into entirely the wrong valley, fallen down a ravine as it turns out, sliced his arms open and had to like rock climb back up. You know what Rushy's like, he's a pretty hardcore character. And so I was bimbling along at about the 25-mile point, thinking, well, look at this, I'm in 3rd place in my first ultra, this is pretty good. And I don't really know what happened, but like I stepped on a rock and something went behind my knee, like either the ligaments or the tendons or something behind my knee where your hamstrings kind of insert. And I was like, oh, that doesn't feel good. I'm going to walk for a bit and, you know, try and walk this off. Yeah. Didn't really happen. So it was a long walk home from that point. So I gradually.
How many miles was that in?
I was about the halfway point. I was about 25 miles. It was the top of the 3rd big hill at this point on top of Whernside. So I kind of limped down the mountain and thought, well, I'll be all right when I get on the flat. And then I couldn't really jog when I got down. And you kind of go in, am I doing myself any long-term damage by doing this? Because I don't want to drop out. And I got to the next aid station and they were like, well, we can give you a lift back, but you're going to be sitting here for 10 hours, you know. And I thought, well, I might as well keep on kind of plodding along. Yeah. And I kept on going till about the last aid station with about 10 miles to go. I could walk all right and I could jog a little bit, but it was a bit painful. But by that 10 miles to go point, it was just walking was really painful. So it took me 5.5 hours to do the last 10 miles.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really painful. The last 5 miles, especially. Carpet Paul passed me with 4 miles to go, and he was walking, and I couldn't keep up with him. Even when I was trying to jog, I couldn't keep up with his walk, and he finished an hour and a half ahead of me.
Oh my God. Yeah. So Rob, what was going through your mind with 5-10 miles to go, and how did you get through that bit? Because that sounds awful. That sounds like the moment that I wanted to throw my bike into a ravine in Italy.
Well, yeah, it's like that, isn't it? You just kind of go, I can get through this. It's really hurting, but I can get through this, and I don't think I'm doing myself any long-term damage, so pull your big boy pants on and kind of crack on with it. But then with about 4 miles to go, that thought of, I don't know whether I'm doing myself any long-term damage, like with every footfall I was going, oh man. And and you sit down and it hurts, and you stand up and it hurts, and yeah, you had to get down this kind of rocky, almost like a downhill rocky thing where you were on the way up, it was no problem, you were bouncing from boulder to boulder. It took me forever to get down it, and I was just like, all right, you're going to do this, but just try not to kill yourself in the process, So I got through it, but I'd like to go and do one again where I can actually enjoy it, and kind of jog along and take in the scenery. Because like you said, you were staring at Rich's back wheel and you were focused on just getting through it. every step was like, ow, ow. And it really wasn't a lot of fun for the last 4 or 5 hours or so. So I'd like to go back and be able to, because I think like if I'd carried on going at that kind of pace, I wasn't going too fast, I don't think. I think I was doing all right, and compared to the other runners, I was like, oh, I seem to be doing okay here. But you can't kind of, I don't know, it's hard, isn't it, when you get a niggle that kind of stops you stretching your leg out and running and jogging and stuff. So it sounds like I'm making loads of excuses, so I probably am. So I'm, you got through it, got my finisher's medal, so that's what's important.
But Rob, given that, okay, this was not on the radar 3 months ago, was it? I think it was more like 2 months ago.
Yeah, it was like that.
Yeah. And so I think as a first ultra, was Snowdonia, was that a...
Yeah, it was 28, I think, in the end, Snowdonia. So
okay,
I guess you can count it, can't you?
First longer ultra.
Yeah.
I think you should be... I mean, you got through it. You didn't pull out. You could have easily pulled the plug with 5-10 miles to go, going, I'm in pain. I can't do this. I want out. But I guess you'd still have to get back to the finish line because you're in the middle of nowhere. But you know what I mean? You actually finished it.
It teaches you about yourself, doesn't it? Because it's one of those things where if I'd been Ironman Bolton, I'd have stopped because I could have done.
Yep.
But because I was in the middle of nowhere and I didn't really have any choice, you have to keep going. And so in my mind, it's kind of, although I wasn't really going fast and it wasn't like I was pushing myself, I've kind of learned that I can keep going when I'm in pain a bit more than I thought I could, which is kind of hard to simulate, isn't it, in training?
Exactly. But then come the next one, you might... Yeah. You probably will learn something else about yourself. It might not be that you can keep going in pain. It might be that you can chase someone down or whatever.
Yeah,
so every race that you do, you take something from and you learn it. And what an achievement to have finished it. It's amazing.
Mate. And it's such a friendly bunch of people. They were so nice, and I love the ultra running community. They're so laid back and chilled out, and everyone was supporting everybody.
They wouldn't be letting out the air in your tyres, would they?
Do you know what? Literally every single person who passed me in the last 5 hours stopped and walked with me for a bit and was going, are you sure it's all right if I leave you? Which probably was a bit of a reflection on the kind of state I was in. And I was going, yeah, go on, don't wreck your race for me. But every single one of them wouldn't have hesitated to walk back with me if they thought I was in danger of not getting back, which is really amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, really cool.
Oh, high five to the ultra runners.
Yeah. So
superb bunch of people, nice people.
I'm going to have to go back and do more ultra running. I think I did really enjoy it. It's really where my head's at in a minute.
Rob? Have you signed up yet?
I've got my eye on one. Yeah. I've got my eye on one.
This year?
Yeah. For September. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
To watch this space.
Watch this space. This is great.
Oh, we better wrap it up, I think, Hals. We've waffled on for 55 minutes, just you and me, so it's going to be another long one. Sorry, guys, if you're extending your long run today to finish the end of this.
Yeah, too much to catch up on. There we go. One other thing, Rob, I want to say hi to Matt Mills, who I know is a listener of the show, and apparently I passed him. Oh, no, we went past each other, I think is the correct phrase. So he was doing the middle distance race at Llandudno.
Love it.
So, hi, Matt, well done. And... if you do want to read more about the Italy ride, then do check out at OI Tri Podcast or at Helen F. Murray on Twitter, and you'll see the blog posts there. And I'm going to write one more blog post about the practicalities of it all, which might be helpful and useful.
Love it. Yeah, I loved your blogs all the way through. I was very impressed you had the energy to even do that at the end of the day. Very impressive, mate.
Thanks. I'm glad I did do it, though. It's a nice...
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? If you don't do it at the time, you'll never have it. And if you do, you'll always have it. Yeah, because
someone said, why on earth are you doing that when you're meant to be on holiday? Like, switch off. And it's almost like, but now I actually have a permanent record of the whole ride. Yeah. And even since being home, we've looked back through it.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, good for you, man. That's an epic achievement. I'm really impressed by it. Well done.
Thanks. I'd recommend it to others if you're interested.
Right, we better wrap this up then. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. You've been listening to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We've been brought to you by our sponsors tgstore.co.uk, precisionhydration.com and wearetribe.co. Until next week, have a fantastic training and racing week. Don't let anybody else's tyres down. Ask them if they need help instead. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And yeah, have a great week. We'll speak to you again soon. See ya.